Hey everyone, I'm Tassenix, and welcome to my fourth video on the Gungan faction. We're covering Gungan Phalanx, the tank. He is nasty. He is an awesome tank for this team. Before we jump right into his character kit, I do want to highlight the role of Boss Nass lead and the compositions for teams. So obviously 5 versus 5, there's just 5 Gungans, that's fine. Here's some 3 versus 3 comps. If you want more explanation on these, I did give that in the Boss Nass video talking about that, and I'll refer to it a couple other points in this video, so I'll put a link in the description so you can get right over to it. But yeah, let's jump right in and talk about the Boss Nass leadership. Alright, Boss of Otagunga. Gungan allies have plus 30% protection and offense and plus 30 speed. Whenever a Gungan ally attacks out of turn, they inflict speed down for 1 turn. The first time each Gungan ally drops below 50% health, they gain 50% bonus protection for 2 turns. If there is an allied shield generator, whenever it loses a stack of recharge, Gungan allies gain 1% max protection, max 50%, until the end of the encounter. If the shield generator is defeated, Gungan allies gain 50% turn meter. At the end of each Gungan ally's turn, they remove a stack of recharge. If all allies are Gungans, at the start of battle, summon a shield generator, if it's not already there, you know. So I explained about the shield generator again in the Boss Nass video. But as far as Phalanx goes, yeah, we're getting percent protection up front, and then we have the opportunity to stack. You know, we get 30%, and then we can stack up to another 50% on top of that. Pretty nasty. Alright, let's jump right into the Phalanx. And by the way, this 5 vs 5 team comp shown here, this is the turn order that I would recommend. Boss Nass over Jar Jar, over Phalanx, over Boomadir, over Tarpals. If you've seen the previous videos on these 2 attackers, I do explain a little bit why, but I'll definitely be covering it here. Alright, we'll start with his unique. Let Misa help! At the start of battle, Phalanx loses 75% max health and gains that much as max protection, just like the other Gungans. Whenever Phalanx is not damaged by an enemy, on the next other ally Gungan's turn, that ally gains potency up for 1 turn. Phalanx will assist that ally and remove 8 stacks of recharge from the allied shield generator. So yeah, so if he... I gotta read that again, because it's an absolutely amazing effect. When he's not damaged by an enemy. So if somebody's choosing to not do an AoE attack or choosing to attack somebody other than Phalanx, then on your next other ally's turn, those attackers, hopefully, are getting potency up. None of them are bad to have potency up. Phalanx will assist them, so that's another speed down from Boss Nass lead. Nasty bit of business. And then, of course, you're accelerating the shield generator's bonus turn with this part. If the allied shield generator loses 2 or more stacks of plasma shielding in a single turn, Phalanx taunts for 1 turn. So, this is what makes him so sticky as a taunt. This is his passive taunt that will come back. If you're attacking this team, you would want to be, ideally, you want to kill as many stacks as you can in 1 turn, so you have to balance that by knowing that if you kill 2 or more stacks on any one attack, you're going to trigger him to taunt and, you know, possibly create a ping-pong situation there. You could be just getting juggled with taunt. That can be a problem. Whenever Phalanx uses an ability while taunting, he gains 2% max protection stacking for the rest of the encounter. There's no limit to this. Whenever the allied shield generator is destroyed, Phalanx recovers 50% protection, and Gungan allies dispel all debuffs on themselves. So I think that's something that the shield generator itself does, is dispel the allies, so it's like one last blast from the shield generator, you know? And then if there is an active allied shield generator, Gungan allies are immune to protection disruption. So you're thinking, with all this prod on this team, can they be protection disrupted? No, not so long as the generator stands. Whenever Phalanx assists another Gungan ally, like we said up top he would, that ally receives Foresight for 1 turn. So that's in addition to the rest of the stuff we already covered. Now, he does have Galactic Challenges, Omicron. I'm not covering that. I won't be doing that, all right? Let's talk about the rest of his abilities. Fierce Poke, his basic. Deal physical damage to the target enemy and inflict defense down for 1 turn. If the target enemy already had defense down, apply Daze for 1 turn. Whenever Phalanx attacks an enemy out of turn, the weakest Gungan ally gains 3 stacks of protection over time for 2 turns. So with that, that passive ability of his to get taunt back, he's passively handing out with his basic protection over time. And again, this doesn't say that this effect requires him to use this ability on his turn. So anytime he's assisting, he's handing out these 3 stacks to the weakest ally. So it's just going to keep restoring from the bottom up, the most damaged members of your team. It's really nice. All right, his first basic, Heyo, watch out. Deal physical damage to all enemies and inflict tenacity down on them for 2 turns. This is probably my favorite ability in the entire Gungan faction. An AoE tenacity down is incredibly, incredibly rare. And if you've seen the previous videos so far on the faction, this team is rife with trying to do debuffs. This is your insurance policy. It also saves you a lot of potency in your mod budget. You saw that his unique is going to be handing out potency up to allies, but this is really the key to the kingdom because you want him to do this ability ahead of your 2 attackers so that you can take full advantage of all of their goodness that capitalizes on landing debuffs. Definitely the coolest ability in Phalanx's kit. All right. If the enemies were separatists, also inflict Provoked for 2 turns, which can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted. And I will show you Provoked here in case you had forgotten. If you inflict this on somebody, it's plus 100% counter chance they gain. And this character deals 90% less damage when attacking out of turn, like counterattacking. Whenever this character attacks out of turn, they take damage equal to 20% of their max health, and this damage can't defeat the character. Alright, so back into the ability here. Phalanx also gains Taunt off of this ability for 1 turn. If Phalanx was already taunting, he recovers 20% protection, and we're just stacking a ton of it, so much the better. This is a 4-round cooldown, so yeah. Another reason why we put this character pretty fast. But his next special here is Raise the Shield. Dispel all debuffs on himself and deal physical damage to target enemy. Deal an additional instance of damage equal to 10% of Gungan Phalanx's max protection. So this can actually hit harder than you would expect. You're building this guy to endure. This ability is actually going to slap a bit. Inflict Vulnerable on all Separatist enemies for 2 turns, which can't be copied, dispelled, evaded, or resisted. Oh my god. So you're thinking, wow, what a shame. After he uses his first special, he may not get to take advantage of that tenacity down before the enemy gets to dispel it. Nope, don't worry about that if the enemy is Separatist, because none of this can be stopped. The Inflict Vulnerable is gross. Gungan allies gain Shield Up 25%. This is a unique buff, by the way. For 2 turns, and Phalanx gains Retaliate for 2 turns, which can't be copied. So these are 2 new unique effects built into this special. Let's check them out. Shield Up gains shield based on max protection, so it's like its own kind of protection up kind of thing. Just not called protection up. But yeah, you're gaining an additional overage based on your max protection, whereas protection up is based on your max health. So yeah, this is just leaning further into that crazy protection synergy. And then the Retaliate effect. Whenever this character is damaged by an attack, deal 20% of the damage received per stack to the attacker's true damage. This damage can't defeat enemies. So we've definitely seen this on a couple tank level 9s in Datacrons. Pretty nasty that this is just a base effect in this guy. All right, what do we want to cover next? Of course, is the mod breakdown itself. So let me get this up here. All right, I wanted to highlight Aesop rocks mods for this. So he has kind of a mixed set of defense and health. He's got 4 health and 2 defense mods on this character. But the profile that he's going for is pretty fast. He actually has a speed arrow on here, and then protection primaries the rest of the way around. Note that he has a 2 set of health, so he's taking advantage of that conversion from max health to max protection. You see that he's going to have some health on these mods besides to further lean into that. Flat protection wherever he can. And yeah, he's over 110,000 health, so that's quite a bit getting converted. 161,000 protection, 318 speed, which means that, you know, if he's pushing, the reason why he has this in a speed arrow instead of a protection arrow is that by having him that much faster, he can afford to raise the speed of his 2 attackers, Boomadir and Tarpals, to be that much faster while still being right behind him. So that's really the advantage to going with the speed arrow. We'll cover that more in a minute. He's got an extraordinarily high base potency. Gosh, what is that? About 92%. So even with just a couple pennies of, you know, potency sprinkled in there, you're going to be comfortably up there. As far as armor goes, he's got about 75% in this build. So he's leaning more into the life total with this more health-orientated set. And now we'll show you mine by comparison. So he's got 110,000 health. The biggest difference up front is I've only got 88, but I have another 5% armor in full defense sets at 80%. You'll also note that I have full protection primaries all the way around. Made him just about as fast as I reasonably could. I could probably push this up another couple of speed, but for all that effort, he is 305. So a good bit behind Aesop's, right? Like a good, 13 speed. That means that my 2 attackers are that much slower, proportionally. We easily are over 100% protection, no problem. And yeah, just a gnarly amount of protection, right? 174k to start compared to Aesop's 161. So he is getting more protection from his health conversion than I am, but I'd be willing to bet if I did the napkin math, I'm starting off from such a crazier position protection-wise. His big advantage in that setup over mine is, again, just the faster attackers. It's something I'm going to stew on because, I don't know, man. You want those guys to move. This whole team really wants to move. And you're on borrowed time, right? As soon as that shield generator goes down, the jig is up. The team kind of melts right after that. So, more speed if you can. But again, with preserving that turn order, this is kind of the setup you want to go for. Alright, as far as applications goes, this is another one where I'll point you back to the Boss Nass video for full details, but just a brief scroll shows that from the 1 week of the 5 vs 5 season we had just recently where we debuted Gungans, they were stomping all over Separatists. DTMG, while DTMG still had a dedicated Kron, that's very impressive. I think you'll see here there's a couple interesting kills against an Inquisitor's team. This is where they had an Empire Kron, giving them a ton of offense. And that's just a 4-man doing it. And now this team has a Datacron. So don't limit your thinking. Give things a try if you're inclined to set this on offense. But for me, this is mostly a defensive team. All right, guys, that about wraps this one up. I'm very much enjoying making this series and appreciate the warm and encouraging feedback from all of you. Next video, of course, is going to be about the man Jar Jar himself, so we'll definitely break that down. I'm hoping to keep that one about 15 minutes too, but there's an awful lot to cover. Still, you know, we'll have you well prepared. And yeah, if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel to see more. Until next time, it's been real, it's been awesome, it's been real awesome. Take care.